You know what people always tell you? That home is your safe place. That family protects you. That the people who share your blood would never harm you. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not always true. Sometimes the most dangerous person in your life is sitting right across from you at the dinner table. My name is Margaret Louise Henderson. People call me Miss Maggie. I'm 75 years old, sitting here in my little apartment in Philadelphia on this warm afternoon. And I've decided it's finally time to tell the truth. The whole truth. About what happened to me when I was just a girl. This isn't going to be an easy story to hear. I know that. There were times I thought about taking it to my grave. But then I think about all the young girls out there, suffering in silence, thinking they're alone. Thinking nobody will believe them. Thinking there's no way out. If you're listening to me right now, please leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. I need to know my voice is reaching beyond these walls. And if this story touches your heart, if it helps you understand something you've been going through, please hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because every single view, every comment, gives me the courage to keep talking. I was born in 1949. That was a different time, you understand. Children didn't have voices back then. Especially not girls. We were supposed to be quiet, obedient, grateful for whatever scraps of attention we got. My story begins in a small mill town in Pennsylvania called Riverside. One of those places where everybody knows everybody's business. Or at least they think they do. But behind closed doors? That's where the real secrets lived. My father, Frank Henderson, he worked at the steel mill. Big man. Rough hands. Voice like thunder. The kind of man who believed children should be seen and not heard. And daughters shouldn't even be seen much at all. When he came home from work, you learned real quick to stay out of his way. My mother, Dorothy, she was a seamstress. Took in alterations, mending, anything to bring in a little extra money. Her fingers were always moving, always stitching, always trying to hold things together, including our family. Then there was Uncle Ray, my father's younger brother. He was 28 years old when he moved into our basement. Said he'd lost his job and needed a place to stay while he got back on his feet. My father said family helps family, so that was that. Uncle Ray was different from my father. Charming. Always smiling. Always had a joke or a kind word. The neighbors loved him. Said he was such a nice young man, so helpful, so polite. Little did they know. Our house was a narrow two-story place. My parents had the bedroom upstairs in the front. My room was upstairs in the back, barely bigger than a closet. Uncle Ray had the finished basement. His own little apartment, he called it. His own bathroom, his own entrance. His own private world. I remember being excited when he first moved in. I was only 6 years old. I thought having an uncle in the house would be fun. He'd play games with me, tell me stories, sneak me candy when Mama wasn't looking. And at first, that's exactly what he did. But things changed. Slowly at first. So slowly I didn't even notice it was happening. I must have been 7 the first time I felt that something was wrong. Uncle Ray called me down to the basement to help him organize his record collection. Mama was at the grocery store. Daddy was at the mill. It was just us. He put on some music. Showed me how to hold the records by the edges so I wouldn't scratch them. Then he sat on the couch and patted the spot next to him. Come sit with your Uncle Ray, Maggie girl. I sat down. He put his arm around my shoulders. Pulled me close. Too close. His hand started rubbing my arm, up and down, up and down. You're such a special little girl, you know that? Not like other kids. You're mature for your age. Even at 7, something in my stomach twisted. But I didn't have words for what I was feeling. I just knew I wanted to go back upstairs. The years after that, they got worse. But so gradually that I couldn't point to one moment and say, that's when everything changed. It was like drowning, but so slowly you don't realize you can't breathe anymore. By the time I was 9 years old, Uncle Ray had me convinced that we had a special relationship. That's what he called it. Special. Like it was something to be proud of. He started calling me his girl. Started finding more and more reasons why I needed to come down to the basement. To help him with laundry. To look at something interesting. To keep him company because he was lonely. And I went. Because he was family. Because my parents trusted him. Because I was taught to obey adults without question. He'd lock the basement door. So we won't be interrupted. He'd say with that smile that made my skin crawl. He started sitting me on his lap. Started touching me in ways that made me want to disappear. Started whispering things in my ear that I didn't understand but knew were wrong. This is our secret, Maggie girl. Nobody else would understand. Your daddy would be so angry if he knew. You don't want to make him angry, do you? No. I didn't want to make Daddy angry. I'd seen what happened when Daddy got angry. The yelling. The throwing things. The way Mama would flinch and hide. So I kept the secret. When I was 10, I tried to tell Mama. Not directly. I didn't have the words. But I tried. Mama, I don't like going down to Uncle Ray's room anymore. She was at her sewing machine pedaling away. Didn't even look up. Why not, honey? Did you two have a fight? No, I don't like it down there. Don't be silly, Margaret. He's your uncle. He loves you. He's just trying to spend time with you. That word again. Love. I learned that day that nobody was going to help me. I was on my own. When I turned 11, everything got worse. So much worse. Uncle Ray stopped pretending it was innocent. Stopped pretending at all. You're getting older now, he told me one day. Turning into a young lady. It's time you learned about certain things. Things between a man and a woman. I was 11 years old. 11. I should have been playing with dolls and jumping rope. Instead, I was being taught things no child should ever know. He started coming to my room at night. I'd hear the stairs creak and my whole body would go rigid with fear. I tried everything. Locking my door, Daddy took the lock off, said I was too young for privacy. Pushing my dresser against the door. Uncle Ray would just push it open and threaten to tell Daddy I'd been stealing money. I tried sleeping in my clothes, hiding under all my blankets, making myself as small as possible. Nothing worked. The worst part wasn't even the pain, though that was terrible. The worst part was having to see him every single day after. Having to sit at the dinner table and pass him the potatoes. Having to listen to my parents talk about what a help he was around the house. Having to watch him laugh and joke like he was a normal person. At school I started failing. Started getting into fights. Started stealing things. Little things at first, candy bars, pencils. Then bigger things. I was screaming for help in the only way I knew how, but nobody heard me. The school counselor called my parents in. Margaret is exhibiting concerning behaviors. Has something changed at home? Nothing, Daddy said. She's just going through a difficult phase. Being rebellious. Rebellious. I was dying inside and they thought I was being rebellious. I started cutting myself when I was 12. Little lines on my thighs where nobody would see. Each cut was something I could control. Pain that was mine to give, not his to take. At 13 I tried to run away. Made it 3 whole blocks before Mrs. Patterson from down the street spotted me and brought me back. The beating I got from Daddy. I couldn't sit down for a week. Uncle Ray stood in the doorway watching the whole thing. When Daddy was done, when I was curled up on the floor crying, Uncle Ray smiled at me. Just a little smile. A smile that said, "You can't escape. You belong to me." I turned 14 in March of 1963. By May I knew something was terribly wrong. I was sick every morning, dizzy, exhausted. My body was changing in ways I couldn't hide. By June I couldn't button my school skirt. I started wearing my daddy's old work shirts, big and baggy. But Mama noticed. Mama always noticed things about clothes. "Margaret Louise Henderson, come here right now." I stood in the kitchen, shaking. "Turn to the side." I did. Her face went white, then red, then white again. "How far along are you?" I don't know, Mama." "Who was it?" I couldn't speak. My throat closed up completely. I said, "Who was it?" Still nothing. She slapped me, hard enough to make my ears ring. "You little tramp. Was it that Jackson boy? That mechanic's apprentice?" "Who?" "Nobody, Mama. I didn't." "Don't you lie to me. Girls don't get pregnant from thin air." That's when Uncle Ray appeared in the doorway. He'd heard everything, of course. "Dorothy," he said, real calm, real smooth. "I hate to say this, but I've seen Margaret with Bobby Jackson, the mechanic's boy, multiple times, behind the school building." I didn't want to say anything, but the lie came out of his mouth so easy, so perfect. And Mama believed him. Of course she believed him. He was the adult. I was the troubled teenager who'd been acting out for years. When Daddy came home, the explosion was nuclear. He called me every terrible name you can imagine, destroyed my room looking for evidence, dragged me down to the Jacksons' house and made such a scene that the police were called. Bobby Jackson was 16 years old. Sweet kid who'd never spoken 2 words to me. His parents were terrified. Within 2 weeks, they'd packed up and moved to another state. Another innocent person destroyed by Uncle Ray's lies. My parents decided I couldn't be seen pregnant. It would shame the family. So they locked me in my room. Literally. Put a padlock on the outside. Brought me meals on a tray. Let me use the bathroom 3 times a day under supervision. I was a prisoner in my own home. And Uncle Ray? He'd unlock my door sometimes when everyone was asleep. "Just checking on my favorite girl," he'd whisper. "And my baby. His baby." Those words made me want to die. She was born on a freezing January night in 1964. In my bedroom. Just me and Mama. No doctor. No hospital. Just pain that I thought would kill me. 15 hours of labor. I tore. I bled. I prayed for death. But then she cried. This tiny perfect little girl. And something in my destroyed heart opened up. Mama cleaned her, wrapped her in a blanket. What now? Daddy and Uncle Ray decided for me. I'd give her up for adoption. No discussion. But something fierce woke up in me that day. I looked at that baby and knew I would protect her. I would save her. I would break this cycle. "No," I said. "What did you say?" Daddy's voice was dangerous. "No. She's mine. I'm keeping her." They fought me. But I didn't back down. For the first time in my life I fought back. And finally they gave up. I named her Rose. Because even thorns can produce something beautiful. For 3 months I lived in that house planning how to escape. How to save us both. The opportunity came on a rainy April morning. Daddy and Uncle Ray went to work. Mama went to her sewing circle. I packed everything we owned in a pillowcase. Took $73 from Mama's cookie jar. Walked to the bus station with Rose bundled against my chest. Where to, honey? The ticket lady asked. Anywhere. Far. Philadelphia's 3 hours away. I bought 2 tickets and never looked back. Philadelphia saved us. A women's shelter took us in. Helped me get a job cleaning offices at night. Found me a tiny apartment. Found daycare for Rose. It was hard. God, it was so hard. I was 15 years old, alone in a big city with a baby. But we survived. Rose never knew the truth. I told her father was a boy I dated who died in an accident. Another lie to protect her. She grew up happy, healthy, loved. Became a teacher. Married a good man. Gave me grandchildren I adore. I never went back to Riverside. Never spoke to my parents again. I heard through a cousin that Uncle Ray died in 1992. I felt nothing. Just relief. The nightmares lasted for decades. The fear. The shame. But slowly, with therapy and time and love, I healed. Not completely, you never heal completely. But enough to live. Enough to love. Enough to be here today telling this story. If you're watching this and going through something similar, please hear me. It's not your fault. It was never your fault. And there is a way out. Tell someone. Keep telling until someone listens. Run if you have to. Fight if you must. But don't give up. I'm 75 years old now. Rose is 50. My grandchildren are grown. My great-granddaughter just started college. We built a beautiful life from those ashes. You can too. Promise you can. Thank you for listening to this old woman's story. Please subscribe, leave a like, and comment where you're watching from. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. My name is Margaret Henderson. I'm a survivor. And this is my truth. Until we meet again. Stay strong. You're not alone.